2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hello my lovelies and welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jamie. Today we are going to be going over my February TBR, and so much has happened this month. It got really freaking crazy. Nick and I got sick with the flu the second week. I know everybody's been having the flu lately. It's just been going around. Week after that, a lot of things happened with family. I was more focused on that. So I've been in a 2-week reading slump. This has been crazy this month. I finally got back into it just yesterday. So I just started reading again more than 10 pages yesterday. I didn't think I read as much as I did until I looked back at everything. So I started off really good in the beginning of the month. I read 2 full books, and then I took a big pause. That lasted about a week, and then I started up a few other books that just didn't get me going again, and it put me in a bigger slump. So it didn't go well. Like I said, I'm back to normal now with reading. I think it was the books I read in particular. I think that has something to do with it too, not just everything happening in February. I definitely read a lot more than I thought. I read 3 from my original TBR. 4 if you count the book sprout book. The rest of them were kind of just not really impulse, they were surprises, because I have a bunch of new books that have yet to come in from the library that I pre-ordered technically. Before they were even at the library, they show up in the system and you can put your hold on it before it gets there if you know what you're looking for. So I had a couple of those ready, and a few of them came in. So I've had to work around doing those as well as my TBR. So it took some finagling, but I got around to doing quite a few. So the first one we are going to start off with was my book sprout book. I read the God Heist. This book, to be honest, I only didn't enjoy this book because I didn't know the world as much as it explained it, because it was a novella, and then I found out that it was a series. So I didn't read the series beforehand, and I was trying to read the novella. Yes, you can read the novella separately, but I think that it needed some extra world building in order for me to understand the world a little bit, and I felt like I didn't get enough of it. This is the only reason why I didn't fully read it. I gave it a good review. I gave it a 3. But that was the only reason why I didn't get as far as I did, or finish it even, was because I felt like that I needed to read that series first in order to understand this a little bit more. So that one was a flop. And then I moved into Landline by Rowell. This one, I didn't hate it. I didn't not like it. And I also didn't love it. So we're kind of in the in-between with this one. This is a story about a lady. She works for a television editing company where they create shows and go through the cast of characters, the storylines, all that kind of stuff. So it's a really cool job. Christmas is coming up, literally a few days, and they finally get the deal that they've been wanting forever, her and her partner at work. When she brings it home to her husband, she's like, well, we have to work extra leading up until Christmas. We'll have Christmas off, but we'll need to be working constantly to make up for the fact that we don't have storylines and we need to work on them. And her husband's like, well, we're going to, I don't remember if it was Oklahoma or Iowa or Ohio. I think it was Ohio. That they plan to visit his mother and take their kids with them and create a whole family vacation with. He was not happy to hear that, and she's like, well, I'm sorry, we can go next time or whatever. And he's like, no, the tickets are already bought. We're going. And she's like, well, I can't go. He's like, I know. So he takes the kids and they go up to Ohio, and then she starts her journey of how much she misses them, her reflection on her relationship with her husband. It's diminished a lot since she cannot stand being in the house. So she stays at her mother, and the reason why there's a big yellow phone on this, the rotary phone, is because when she tries calling her husband on this phone, it turns out it's not the husband in the present time. It's her husband from when they first started dating, which to me seemed like a really, really good magical realism type of story. And it was. I did enjoy it. I'm not saying that I didn't. It was just a lot of reflecting, a lot of emotional stuff, and I felt like there could have been a little more to it. Not much. It didn't need much, because there were other plot lines tying in with it, like the show, her relationship that she has with her work partner. It's a whole thing. But it's a lot of reflecting, a lot of emotion finding and building. It's crazy. So it made me kind of tear up a little bit. Not 100% like full on bawling, but I enjoyed it. I think I gave it a 3.5. I am not 100% sure. I'll put it up here when I find out what I rated it. But yeah, this was the first one that I read, and to be honest, it still wasn't completely successful. I did enjoy the story. I did finish it. I just didn't wow me, if that makes sense. The next one that I read for this month was A Lady's Guide to Mischief and Mayhem. This one, same situation. I like the story. I have no problem with it. This book is about a lady. She owns a journalist company in, I think this is 1800s, early 1800s. Yeah, 1865. So we're living in the times women aren't appreciated as much as a businesswoman, and I feel like you have to have a man around to, do that. That is a constant theme in this book because it does pertain to this particular couple. There has been a serial killer going around and murdering different people. Well, the police haven't done anything about it. They don't have any suspects or anything, so she decides, I'm going to look into it a little more, maybe give the police a little help to, find out who the killer is. And turns out what she did actually hurts what the police are doing. They didn't understand that their consequences for putting that in their journalist paper and having everyone go see that actually hurts the police in that way. And it really, really, really upsets their detective that was on the case. It actually got him off of the case. And then there was another, so that was a whole thing, and we move on from there. But they're trying to find the killer. He decides, she's found the last two victims, so let's just work with her on this, figure out what we can do. They're the love interests in this. I did enjoy the murder mystery aspect of it. I loved the characters in this. I connected with each and every one of them. I kind of just had the style of the 1800s in my brain too, which was kind of cool. It's like a completely different world set up, especially with the language and, the certain things that people did back then. It was really, really nice. The only thing that I didn't like, and what I think turned the whole tide of the story for me, was I wasn't expecting this to have spice in it. This, to me, the type of world that this is, and the type of story that this is, it's like the last thing you really think about. I understand that this is like a partial romance, but it didn't seem like it should have that in there. At first, I thought it was just going to be like, okay, they did this, and then we skipped to the next morning. No. Kind of set me back on that a lot, actually. I think that's what made me not give it higher than a 4.5. I did enjoy the story. I did enjoy the characters. I really, really liked it. And that was enough to give it the highest rating that I just gave it. But yeah, so I wasn't expecting it to have spice in it. I don't know if I want to keep it anymore. I really don't, because I felt like it could have been better without it. instead of trying to include that in there. It just didn't seem like the type of story that you would include something like that in there. So that's where it lost me. Like I said, I did enjoy it though. It is really, really good. It's not like the spice was cringy. It was actually good. Didn't feel like it belonged in this kind of story. So the next one that I read was The Wedding People. Oh, The Wedding People. My only actual hard DNF. Yes, you guys heard me right. This was my DNF. For those of you who love this book, I have an honest question for you. What made you like this book? Because I've heard so many good things about it. So many people raving about it. And I hated it. So this story, The Wedding People, is about a girl. She just recently got divorced. And she decides that she wants to end her life. So she goes to a resort, reserves a room, and decides that she is going to, off herself, take some pills, go right to sleep, have a very peaceful death. Okay, well, turns out there is actually a wedding going on at this resort during the time that she decides she wants to do this. So many different things. I think I got 60 pages in. Because I was pushing it, too. I was already iffy about the writing. I was trying to push through it and hope it got better and all that. So, I felt like there were too many. It was too many. It was too long of a backflash, and it was done so poorly. It didn't pertain to the moment. I wish it would have split it up differently, like a then and a now, but pertaining to that particular moment, or starting at a timeline point when they first started getting together to when, it was very, very recent. I wish they would have done that. I really do, because I think that would have made the difference in the timeline stuff. That is just one thing. The other thing that pissed me off was the banter going on between some of the people just seemed off to me. I didn't particularly like it. And I just kind of just ignored it. It was like a lesser problem that I could overlook. Okay. The part that pissed me off to the point where I think I just completely checked out of the whole story was their moment in the elevator in the beginning, where the main character, I don't remember her name at the top of my head because I pushed that book so far out of my memory, and the bride, who, it's her wedding, were in the elevator, and she said, I'm here to kill myself, and the bride just looks at her thinking that it's a joke. So it wasn't the fact that she originally thought it was a joke and then she realized, oh my god, you're actually not joking. You seriously? The part that pissed me off, and you could, coming from someone who can relate to this personally, when someone tells you that they are going to kill themselves, when they're going to commit suicide, you don't say don't do it for personal reasons. Don't do this now. You are going to ruin my wedding. That was her reaction. That pissed me off. Instead of asking, are you okay? Or is there something going on? Or do you need to talk about this? None of that was said. I think that's why I emotionally checked out of this book. I tried reading a little bit further, but it was not. It was shortly after that scene where I just couldn't stand it anymore. I'm like, excuse me? You did not just say that. For those of you who overlooked that, shame on you, because that needed to be said. I am surprised I have not heard anybody talk about that scene in particular, where she just completely ignores the fact, oh yeah, don't do this at my wedding because you're gonna ruin my wedding. What? And I'm not out of context here, because That is all she says. And she starts really getting upset. Nothing was said about, are you okay? What is going on? Do you want to talk to somebody? Or why do you want to do this? None of those things were said. Okay? None of those things were said. So it royally pissed me off. I am surprised no one has brought it up since then. Wow. Just wow. I was severely disappointed in that. So I'm gonna take it out of the mind. I don't want to think about it anymore, because if I think about it, I get pissed off all over again. No. Okay. Next one that I picked up was another library book that had come in. This was a new one. It was What Happened to the McCrays by Tracey Lange. I have read the We Are the Briannans, and I really, really enjoyed it. I love the emotional attachment she gives to her characters and the family dynamic, all of it. Family drama. She's really good at writing family drama. This one, wow. The drama in this, it's like a soap opera almost. I think the book was like borderlining on soap opera versus literary fiction. But I'd say this is one of my more favorite books of the. I had a meh reading month. It was so weird. This one, I love the characters. You connect with them so much. There's a before and then, but it's in timeline order from when they first started dating all the way up till pretty recently before he left. And it picks up about, I think, 2 years after he left. So this book in particular is dealing with Kaale and Casey, and Kyle's father, he ends up having a stroke at home, and people have been trying to contact him. He finally gets a hold of the messages, and he's like, oh crap, my father's had a stroke, and his first is like, I gotta go home. He doesn't want to go home because of the way he left. He left just suddenly, out of the blue. He left his wife of 16 years, and we dig a lot into their marriage and what happened and everything that went downhill from there. And not only that, but his relationship with his dad was always strained, so this was kind of like a way to rekindle their relationship a little bit, even though it was very difficult for him at childhood too. It was just a big family drama. I wouldn't say it had a lot of romance in it. It was more like you're figuring out your feelings of that person. Casey just... I hate people who think like that. Very self-absorbed. Casey was my least favorite character only because she was very, very self-absorbed. She doesn't think about what other people feel. She doesn't think about what other people, like, why they care about her so much, or she thinks they're going to be angry. She thinks this, she thinks that. She's assuming all the time. And it made me upset on so many different scenes. It was just like, girl, just ask. So many things could have been solved with you just talking about the problem. Hi, Luna. So, yeah, it was crazy to me. But the drama definitely kept me going. I teared up a few times, didn't full on cry, particularly in a couple scenes. They're really, really heart-wrenching, very heart-wrenching scenes in some of the book. I did enjoy it. Compared to the We Are the Briannans, I'd say it's a lot more feel to it. But I really, really did enjoy it. Now I've only got one book left from Tracey Lange that I have to read, and then I'll be all caught up with her books. So I'm really excited to get hold of that one, and I hope she really continues writing, because this was really, really good. She is good at writing heartfelt family drama. She's very good at it. She builds you up to it. So that was my opinion on that. I finished this off with a 4.5. Like I said, it wasn't wonderful enough to where I give it a 5, but it was good enough for me to say I recommend this. This is good. Definitely gives you a lot of emotion with this. So 100% recommend that. The one I read after that was actually another Booksprout book. I don't know what happened. I think I just went off on a binge. I'm like, I need something to get me out of this freaking slump, because after Wedding People, after just reading a whole bunch of meh, I got another meh. It's called Fake Engaged to My Enemy. This is a, not really a marriage of convenience, more like just a status of convenience. So we have an enemies to lovers story. And this one in particular, it's so funny because we start off like only a few pages in and we're already starting a spice scene. The thing is about this is that this is also a sister's best friend and her brother. So that kind of came out wrong. We have our main character, her best friend, her brother. So that's you guys get the point. If you don't, I'm sorry. It was poorly explained. I don't really know how to explain that very well. But this story in particular definitely had a lot more going on with the plot. The spice was like, it was nice and it was enjoyable, but it wasn't the focal point of the story. We turned into just, what was supposed to be a one-night stand into what it turns into, which was really amazing. Personally, think there should have been some content warnings in the beginning. Actually, there were content warnings. I just completely disregarded them. So this story starts off with that, and then we go forward. The plotline is mostly about her dealing with, her ex-husband. So he's with somebody else at the moment. She shares her son with him on the weekends. Her son does not want to spend time with him. She doesn't know what's going on. We find that out later, but he's very hesitant to go over there. That was one of the hardest parts about the whole story. It was very hard for me to deal with, but pushed through. We got to the end of it, so we're good. That was one part of it. The other part of it was at work. Her best friend's brother, he is actually going to be a part of her company now because they created a merger between the two companies. So she now has to work with him on top of hating him, and the fact that this happened, well, she doesn't know that they're going to be running for the same position. She did not know that. And he did not tell her. He knew, but he didn't tell her, which I think was a big move. So, so that's where the story takes off and goes from there. I did enjoy it. I definitely got a lot of emotion out of it. I was rooting for the characters. It's a very good descriptive story. Books with kids are very iffy for a lot of people. This one, I can guarantee you, did tie into it really, really well. And it did become part of the story in, I think, a good way. But for the plot line, it was like, oh my god, this is not happening right now. I cried a lot at the end of it. I really did. I loved the outcome of it too. It was awesome. It's a good story. This actually came out February 21st. It was an arc off of Booksprout, so I got to read it a little bit before it came out. So I did enjoy it. I gave this one, I believe, a 4.5 as well. It's like, I'm just getting a whole bunch of meh books. I think I only gave it that much because I wasn't anticipating the amount of trauma that would go into this book, because there's a lot of trauma and a lot of emotional relationship stuff, more than just, figuring out your feelings between one another. It's a whole nother end of the spectrum that we had to deal with. So it's a very good story. I really enjoyed it. I think you guys should at least check it out. Like I said, this is a new book, so advertise. Alright, so that was the second to last one. The last book that I read for this month was A Million Junes by Emily Henry. For those of you who have read Emily Henry, and I've read Book Lovers, I've read one of her more recent books, this doesn't seem like the same author to me. This is like a completely different author who wrote this, and it baffled me. Honestly. It's a magical realism young adult romance. I really did enjoy this one. I really did. I think I gave this one like a 4.75. It was getting closer. I just didn't feel like I loved it enough to want to read it again because it is a more structured, complicated story. So this one is about June, or her actual name is Jack O'Connell the Fourth. She goes by June. Her dad called her Junebug and June, and Junior. So there were just a whole bunch of nicknames, but that's her actual name. Her family lineage has absolutely hated this other family lineage, the Ankerts, and they've had a family feud forever. So she never really knows why. Her dad told her a story from a long time ago of what happened or what they think happened, and that he did something particular. Well, she gets a completely different story from the other end of the spectrum after she meets Saul Ankert. After she meets him, she feels drawn to him for some reason. She's like, this feels wrong. I know I'm not supposed to talk to you. I know our family's been feuding forever, but there's just something about you that's just different. So we go forward with the story. She's trying to find out exactly what happened to her family. The thing that makes it the magical realism part is her house has been told to be haunted. Reality, there's a few spirits that roam around. They're called coy wolves, I believe. Kind of like an animal spirit. But the other thing is that what she calls whites. Think of them like little dandelion fluffs that glow. This is the best description that I got from reading this. And we find out later that they actually do have a big part in the story. I'm trying not to get too much into it because there's a lot to explain in this. It's thick for a reason. There's a lot of world building in this. There's a lot of explaining that goes on to where you think you know what's going on and then you realize, okay, I know what's going on. It makes you think. It makes you think about, everything that's going on, what happened between the families. It keeps you guessing of what actually happened or who this pertains to and what the actual story is. So it's kind of like a mystery in itself in addition to everything else. It's a clean story. So it's a clean romance story. Thank God. I really, really enjoyed this. I'd say out of all of Emily Henry's books that I have read so far, this has been my favorite out of all of them, which is hilarious to me because it's one of her earlier ones no one talks about. Yeah, I really enjoy that story. That one got a little bit higher up on the other ones just because I followed it along. I got everything it was talking about, the world building. It took a lot of work to understand certain things, but they eventually get clarified later on. We slowly understand what's going on. So I did enjoy that. I did start listening to the audiobook. I think I got about to 70, almost 85% of the way before I kind of got tired of listening to the audio, trying to find time to listen to the audio because my headphones just don't stay charged. So that's a whole thing. I have to get a pair of headphones that the battery actually lasts longer than 2 hours. So that's a whole thing. So I just picked it up and I read the rest of it. Out of everything, I think this has been one of my favorite ones. Favorite ones for this month, I would have to say where it impacted me the most would say What Happened to the McCrays and A Million Junes. The rest of them were kind of just engaging stories to keep my mind off of whatever I was going through. But that was it for this month. We only had the 3 physical ones and then all the digital ones. I read a lot more than I thought. I originally thought that I did not read a lot because of the 3 physical ones I have here, but then I had to return The Wedding People and What Happened to the McCrays because they were library books and people have been waiting on them for a long time, so I had to return them, or otherwise I wouldn't have had them for months and been left wondering what the heck happened to the story. So finished them. They're out of the way. I wouldn't consider it a successful month. I would just consider it a meh month. So kind of disappointed. And I think that's part of the reason why I was in such a reading slump was because I didn't have anything that was 5-star worthy or even just oh my god, this is really, really good. So, I hope I get that this month. I have a few books planned that should wow me a little bit more. I hope. We shall see. But that is all I have for you guys today. That's what I read for the month of February. It's a very crazy month. Let me know if you guys have read any of those books. Let me know what you guys think of The Wedding People, because am I just alone in that opinion? Am I like one of the very few who actually hated the book? Let me know, because that's crazy. If you guys haven't already subscribed to my channel, that would help me out astronomically to bring you guys more videos every week. I am definitely going to do better on doing that because it was so bad this month. I do apologize for that. It was just crazy. I was emotionally checked out, so this month should be a whole lot better getting into books that I actually enjoy, that I can stick with the YouTube with. So, getting that out of the way, I do apologize, and we'll be doing a couple more videos this month than I did last month. But love your reach and drink your teas. I'm going to get started on reading some more. Bye!